I never thought a single evening could change everything I believed about trust, love, and friendship. It all started with a text, simple, almost casual, but it hit me like a punch in the chest. I'm not ready for love. Those words came from her. From the woman I had quietly been falling for. The one I thought I understood. The one I believed I could build something real with. I stared at my phone for what felt like hours, trying to make sense of it, replaying every conversation, every laugh, every moment we shared, wondering when she had started pulling away. Her words were calm, almost apologetic, but underneath them, I could feel a storm. I wanted to respond, to tell her I'd wait, that I could handle it, that I could be patient, but something in me hesitated. There's always a line between hope and humiliation, and I wasn't ready to cross it. I decided to give her space, even though my heart was screaming the opposite. I should have known then that life doesn't hand out second chances quietly. That night, my best friend called me, laughing, cheerful, completely unaware of the storm brewing in my chest. He invited me out, said it would take my mind off things. I hesitated, told him I wasn't really up for it, but he insisted, and, in a way, I'm glad I went. I needed distraction. I needed normalcy. The night started like any other. Music, crowded streets, the kind of place where strangers are just bodies passing by. But then, I saw her. The woman who had just told me she wasn't ready for love. And she wasn't alone. At first, I froze, thinking my eyes were playing tricks on me. But no. She was there, laughing, leaning close, and my heart sank before I could even identify who she was with. Then it hit me. My best friend. He was there too, right beside her, smiling the same way I had imagined I might one day if I'd been the one lucky enough. I wanted to tell myself it was innocent. Maybe they were just talking, catching up. But something in the way she looked at him, the way he held himself around her, it wasn't the same look she had given me when we were alone. And suddenly, every moment we had shared, every promise she had ever whispered, felt like it could have been a lie. I stepped back, hiding behind a corner, trying to collect myself. My mind raced. Questions without answers. Betrayal? Coincidence? Or had I been blind all this time? I didn't know what hurt more. The idea of losing her or the thought that I had been betrayed by the one person I trusted most. And that's when I realized. I couldn't just walk away. I had to know the truth. But what I saw next made my stomach drop and my heart stop. Something happened between them that I could never have predicted. Her name was Emily. She had this quiet way of filling a room without trying. Effortless charm. A laugh that made even the worst days feel lighter. I met her at work, of all places, during a project that neither of us wanted to be part of. But somehow, amidst all the deadlines and office chaos, we started talking. Little things at first. Coffee breaks, shared jokes about terrible presentations, small moments that slowly stitched themselves into something I couldn't ignore. I was 22, still figuring out life, still fumbling through relationships, and yet, with her, I felt steady, like I could be honest without pretending. That's what made her so dangerous, I guess. Because I started to care in ways I hadn't planned. I started imagining a future I wasn't ready for, one where she was always part of my world. Then there was Mike, my best friend since childhood. We had been through everything together, scraped knees, heartbreaks, late-night confessions, every secret I thought I'd never share with anyone else. Mike was the kind of person who could sense when I was off, who would tease me until I laughed even if I didn't want to. He liked Emily too, of course, but I'd never thought of it as a threat. Not seriously. She seemed different with me, and maybe that was my mistake. In the weeks before that night, things with Emily had started shifting. Small things I didn't notice at first, delayed replies to texts, a hesitation in her smile, a distant tone in conversations that used to flow naturally. When I asked her about it, she said she needed space. She said she wasn't ready for love. And I believed her, even as my gut told me something was wrong. I didn't want to admit it, but maybe I had ignored the signs, choosing hope over reality. That evening, though, everything collided. Seeing her with Mike wasn't just a surprise. It felt like a betrayal, though I couldn't even process why. My heart was pounding, my chest tight, and yet I couldn't move. It was like watching a slow-motion scene of your life unravel, knowing there's nothing you can do to stop it. I wanted answers, but I also feared the truth. Because sometimes, knowing hurts more than not knowing at all. Mike had always been my anchor, my brother in every sense. But now, as I watched them, The lines between friendship and desire blurred in ways I hadn't expected. And Emily, she looked happy. Too happy. A smile meant for him. Laughter that felt private. Gestures that made my stomach turn. Everything I thought I knew, everything I felt, was suddenly in question. I had no idea what had happened between them earlier that day, or if it was just a moment, innocent in intention but devastating in impact. And as I stood there, frozen and angry, I realized that tonight wasn't just about heartbreak. It was about truth. A truth I wasn't sure I was ready to face. And then she noticed me. She froze for a split second when our eyes met. That smile, the one that had lit up my mornings for weeks, vanished instantly, replaced by something unreadable. My stomach sank, and for a moment, I felt invisible, like I'd stepped into a scene that wasn't meant for me. Mike noticed me too, though he tried to mask it with a casual wave. But I could see it in his eyes, the flicker of guilt, or maybe shock. That alone made my heart twist. Everything I thought I knew about them, the boundaries, the trust, the friendship, was suddenly tangled in a web I couldn't untangle. I wanted to walk away, to escape before saying something I'd regret. But curiosity, and maybe foolish pride, kept me rooted. I needed to know, needed to see if what I feared was real. Every laugh they shared felt like a needle in my chest. Every glance, every accidental touch, made me question if I had been blind, naive, or just unlucky in timing. My mind was spinning. Had she been lying to me when she said she wasn't ready for love? Or was this something else entirely, something I didn't understand? I wanted to confront her, but the words stuck in my throat. Because no matter what happened, I couldn't ignore the knot of betrayal and confusion growing inside me. I caught a glimpse of them leaning closer, voices low, smiles barely restrained. I couldn't hear the words, but the energy, the way they moved around each other, subtle, natural, intimate, it made my chest tighten. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they were just catching up. Maybe I was overreacting, but my heart refused to listen. And then it happened. She laughed at something Mike said, a sound that used to be reserved just for me. And suddenly, she reached out, not to brush her hair back, not a casual gesture, but a touch that lingered, a hand that rested just a second too long on his arm. My vision blurred for a moment, my mind racing with questions I wasn't ready to answer. I stepped back, trying to convince myself I'd misread it. But deep down I knew. Something had changed. And the truth, whatever it was dangling just out of reach, waiting for me to either confront it or let it destroy me from the inside. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I ignored it. I couldn't focus. I couldn't think. I just watched and waited, because I had a feeling that by the end of this night, nothing would ever be the same. I couldn't take my eyes off them. Every laugh, every glance, every small brush of hands felt like it was written just to torment me. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, that I was imagining things, but deep down, I knew I wasn't. I had always trusted my instincts, and right now, they were screaming that something had shifted. I wandered closer, trying to look casual, trying to convince myself this was just curiosity. But my heart was a drumbeat in my chest, loud and relentless, echoing every doubt I'd been trying to suppress. My mind kept replaying her words, "I'm not ready for love." Had that been a warning or a lie? Mike caught my eye again, and for a split second, I thought he might come over, explain, reassure me, but he didn't. Instead, he leaned in, close enough that I could see the faint smirk on his lips when she whispered something back. A shiver ran down my spine. It wasn't just playful or friendly. There was a warmth there that I had never seen reserved for me. And suddenly, every moment I'd shared with her felt fragile, temporary, like I was standing on the edge of something that could crumble at any second. I needed to confront her. I had to, but the words wouldn't come. Because even if I asked, even if I demanded an explanation, would I be ready for the answer? My chest tightened with fear. My palms were sweating. I wanted to storm over, to grab her, to demand the truth. But part of me wanted to wait, to see what would happen next. The crowd around them seemed to blur. Lights flickered across the room, music pulsing in the background, but all I could see was her. She laughed again, and it was like someone had twisted the knife a little deeper. Every detail was amplified. The way her hair fell over her shoulder, the subtle tilt of her head, the softness in her eyes when she looked at him. That softness had never been for me. Then came the moment that made me freeze entirely. They turned, almost in unison, as if caught in a private rhythm I didn't belong in. Her hand lingered on his arm, their faces close enough that I could see the faintest glimmer of something I couldn't name, but I knew it wasn't friendship. My stomach dropped. My breath caught. I felt like a stranger in my own world. Everything I thought I knew about them, about us, about what I could believe in, it was slipping through my fingers. And yet, I stayed, rooted to the spot, desperate to see, desperate to understand, even though fear told me I shouldn't. I didn't notice how long I'd been standing there until I saw them leaning even closer, their voices lower now, private, intimate. My hands clenched into fists. I wanted to look away, to run, to protect myself from the truth I wasn't ready for, but I couldn't. Because something was about to happen. Something that would change everything. And I knew, in that split second, that by the end of tonight, nothing in my life would ever be the same. I finally found the courage to step forward, my voice trembling as I called her name. She froze. Mike glanced at me, and for a heartbeat, I thought I'd get answers. But then, everything shattered in an instant. She smiled. Not the warm, familiar smile I knew, but a secretive, almost guilty grin. And before I could process it, she whispered something into Mike's ear that made his eyes widen. Not in shock, not in fear, but in disbelief. And then, she turned, and her eyes met mine. "I didn't want you to see this," she said softly, but there was no regret in her voice. My heart raced. I felt my knees go weak. Whatever was happening between them wasn't just a casual mistake or fleeting attraction. It was something I had never expected. And then Mike said the words that punched the air out of me. "I didn't think you'd find out tonight." The laughter, the closeness, the hidden tension, it wasn't about a crush. It was about a secret I never imagined they were keeping. Something that could ruin everything I believed about friendship, trust, and love. And in that moment, I realized the night was far from over. I stepped closer, my chest tight, my hands trembling. "What's going on?" I demanded, my voice louder than I intended. The crowd around us faded into a blur. All I could see was her, Emily, and Mike. She looked at me, eyes wide, as if she hadn't expected me to confront them so soon. I didn't know how to tell you," she stammered. Mike, usually so composed, looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight nervously. "It's not what you think," he said, but his tone lacked conviction. I froze. Not what I think. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the tension, the secret smiles, the closeness I'd witnessed. "Then what is it?" I demanded, my heart pounding, feeling every second stretch into eternity. Emily swallowed hard. "Mike, he's been helping me. With something serious. Something I couldn't tell you about. I didn't want to lie, but I couldn't risk you finding out the wrong way." I blinked. My pulse slowed slightly, but not enough to calm the storm inside me. "Helping you? With what?" She hesitated, biting her lip. I'm being stalked. Someone's been following me, sending threats. Mike's been keeping me safe. Tonight, I needed him there." Shock slammed into me. The anger, the jealousy, the betrayal. It all twisted inside me as I tried to reconcile the scene I'd witnessed with the truth she was telling. The realization hit. All my assumptions had been wrong. I felt both relieved and ashamed. But before I could speak, Emily grabbed my hand. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I couldn't tell you everything." Then Mike added quietly, almost as an afterthought, "And there's more. We didn't want anyone else involved, but I think it's finally coming after us tonight." My blood ran cold. The threat wasn't just in the past. It was still here, still dangerous, and still close. I realized then that the night wasn't just about jealousy or secrets. It was about survival, trust, and choices I never expected to face. And as I looked at them both, my heart torn between anger, relief, and fear, I understood one terrifying truth. Nothing would ever be the same. And in the shadows, I caught a movement, someone watching. Someone who had been waiting for the perfect moment. The world felt heavy around me, like I had been holding my breath for hours. Emily's hand still rested in mine, warm and real, grounding me in the chaos I had just witnessed. My anger, my jealousy, my sense of betrayal, all of it had twisted into confusion and, slowly, into understanding. I had no idea. I whispered, my voice cracking. "I thought." My words trailed off. How could I explain what I had seen? How could I reconcile my assumptions with the truth? Emily squeezed my hand. "I didn't want to lie. I wanted to keep you safe too. I thought if you knew, It would put you in danger. Her eyes shimmered in the dim light, a mix of fear and regret. Mike stepped closer, his expression serious but calm. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. You're my best friend. I would have told you sooner if I could, but she's been scared, and I promised to protect her. It took a moment, but the tension between us started to ease. My pulse slowed, the tightness in my chest loosening. I realized I had been so focused on what I thought I saw. I had almost forgotten the bigger picture, her safety, the trust she had in the people around her, and the bond one shared with Mike. Slowly, the fear that had gripped me all night began to fade. Emily explained everything. The threats she'd received, the careful steps Mike had taken to keep her safe, the messages she hadn't shared because they were too alarming. Every detail, every secret, started to make sense. And with each revelation, I felt my anger shift into relief, and then into something softer, more human, compassion. We stood there, the three of us, exhausted but alive. I realized that love wasn't just about romance. It was about trust, understanding, and patience. I had wanted to claim her for myself, to possess the bond one thought we shared, but life had reminded me that love and friendship often demanded sacrifice and empathy. As the night drew to a close, I looked at Emily, and she gave me a small, grateful smile. I'm still not ready for love, she admitted softly, but I'm ready for friendship. And I hope, maybe one day more. I nodded, understanding. It wasn't the ending I had imagined, but it was real. It was honest. And somehow, that honesty felt more important than any romantic fantasy I'd built in my head. And just when I thought the tension had finally eased, I noticed a shadow in the corner. Someone lurking, watching, waiting. My heart skipped again. The night wasn't completely over. But this time, I didn't feel powerless. I felt ready, ready to protect, ready to confront, and ready to face whatever came next. Because sometimes, the greatest lessons in life, and in love, aren't the ones we see coming. They're the ones that force us to grow, to forgive, and to understand. And in that understanding, I found something I hadn't expected: peace.